Welcome to another episode of Divorce Tips, where every week I give you short, concise answers of all of your questions that you might have about starting, during, or after divorce. Today, I really want to go to a very, very specific issue that we're dealing with right now, and that's the housing market. In divorce, it has been a huge, I would say, benefit and also a huge hurdle that people are having to deal with right now in divorce with the housing market. And I'll explain that. So right now, as you know, the market is super high. Interest rates have been really, really low. COVID, with the ability of with the government giving you more money and with people being able to, work remotely, it opened up this really new forecast of allowing people to live anywhere in the country, keep these jobs. The job market is really strong, so people are getting raises and so they can afford it. But then there's been a lot of the people that have said, well, we're not moving. We don't really have anywhere to go. COVID is uncertainty. And so because of that, it has caused the housing market to go down where we do not have enough listed properties. And because of that, and with low interest rates, it's skyrocketed the market to where you can sell your house. House prices and appraisals have gone just through the roof. Since 2019, I think houses have increased by like 40%. Don't quote me on that, but it's just been an astronomical amount of money that people have earned in their house in the last 3 years. And so what is that doing for divorce right now? Well, it's doing something good in the fact that you now have a very big, large asset in this marriage. So when you go for a divorce, you are now going to be able to get half or close to half, whatever your state's specific laws are, of that asset. So that's been really great because people have been walking away from divorce with a lot of money. However, there's this downside to it. And the downside is one of the parties is not going to get the house. The court's not going to allow both parties to keep the house. And so if one party keeps the house and buys out the other party, what that means is that the other party that has to go find a house is stuck having to find a house in this market. And as you know, because housing prices are so high, finding a house in your ability to earn and your price range is really, really hard. So you have people that are now looking and needing to go enter the market to be able to find a house because they're getting divorced, and they can't. And they literally cannot find homes, especially if you're, the lower income earner. So you don't have, you don't make a lot of money, or maybe you don't make any money. You've been a stay-at-home mom or dad, and therefore you're getting some child support, you're getting alimony. But to be able to qualify for the mortgage that you're going to need to enter this market at this time, unless, you're in, one of those very few places that maybe the market is routinely fair. And because of that, people aren't being able to get homes. So it adds another level of complexity because rent is out of this world. And a lot of times rent's so competitive that they want credit reports and they want proof of income as well. So you're under the scrutiny as if you were getting a mortgage just to be able to get a rentable place. And you're paying an arm and a leg. Sometimes you're paying more than a mortgage just to be able to get a place that would fit you, your family. And it has just caused a really big problem. So you're walking away from these homes and you're like, oh, great, I have all this money, but you're left either having to sink all that money into a home to be able to qualify, or you're left renting at these astronomical prices that you end up using your profits from your house to survive. So it's a good problem, but it's also a really complex problem in divorce. And I see both sides where it's really, really hard. And the other thing is as you know, interest rates are going up. So right now, to go into a home, with the market being so high, you're paying even more money for that mortgage, which is going to cause this just heartache and this hardship. And it might not be a possibility. with interest rates going up, I think that what that's going to do is that's going to drop house prices a little bit, but it's really not going to help the market because the market just has too few of houses. So for every house that comes on the market, there is like 20 competitors going for that house. When you have that kind of competitiveness, it makes it so these house values are going to stay pretty high. So again, I think it's just going to add another hardship to these people that are going out of divorce and are needing to find a place. And, there are apartment complexes that have apartments that are empty, but they're holding tight on their price. They want to rent them for a lot of money. And so I can see how this is a really hard time for somebody leaving the house. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is that people have been now trying to figure out how to nest and figure out if they could just live together, but, separately. As my good friend Gabrielle Hartley says, parting amicably. But but what that nesting is that they would both live in the house. And you either rotate with the kids, so the kids stay permanently in the house and you guys rotate in and out of the house during your parent time. Or even I've heard that people are like, hey, I'll move into the basement. I'll pay you rent. And that way we're able to survive this wave in this hardship of this market. Either way, I mean, if you are on good terms with your spouse and is somehow able to come up with an agreement that works, it adds a lot of stability for the kids. It makes it so that both of you have a place and a roof over your your head. But I'm going to assume majority of divorces, they're not in a place that really can do that well. So you kind of have to look at your situation and just know, hey, this is what is best for our family. And if moving in with family for a little bit makes sense, I never am against that, because moving in with family gives you that, opportunity to kind of figure out, get your feet planted on the ground, figure out where you want to go. And then maybe this market will go down a little bit where finding a house in, 6 months and a year might be a little bit more reachable than it is right now. So that's just some advice on what's going on with the housing market. It is really actively affecting divorces right now. And because of that, I thought it was really important to share some of that information. Remember, Divorce Tips, every Friday we release a new episode, and we want your questions. What are what are your questions that you want me to answer? Please email us, IM us on Instagram, DM us, and we will make sure we get your questions, and we'll make sure we get a divorce tip out there answering it. Till next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, follow, and share. I'd love to hear your questions and feedback. You can contact me at community@jillcoyle.com. See you next time. I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. Any advice given on the podcast is general and shall not be construed as legal advice.